Welcome to our one-on-one webcast. I'm Rich Ryan, and I'm pleased to be joined by Alex Rosenbaum and Michael Gayton. Guys, the BCS released its latest standings this week, and starting with you, Alex, what are your thoughts on those rankings?
They finally got it right. All the unbeatens are above the one-loss teams. At the bottom of those unbeatens is Boise State. They haven't really had an impressive schedule. They deserve to be at the bottom. At the top, the reigning champs, Florida. The computers, the coaches, the AP polls, everyone got it right.
And biting at Boise State's heels are the Oregon Ducks, who they beat in the first week of the season. How about you? What do you think the rankings are looking right now? Are they where they're supposed to be, or are they a little bit off?
See, for me, I agree with Alex, except for one exception, and that's Texas and Florida. I think that Texas deserves to be number 3 because of the strength of schedule of the Big 12. I don't think that conference can even begin to compete with the SEC. Alabama and Florida are both stronger teams, playing a much stronger conference, and they deserve to be 1-2. But other than that, I think the computers did get it
right. A lot of love for the Crimson Tide there. Let's talk about USC for a second. USC, although getting beat pretty handily by the Ducks this weekend, are still in the top 15. Are USC getting a little bit too much respect, or are they right where they need to be?
I think they're right where they need to be. I think Oregon's gained a lot of respect. They're a really far more balanced team than people thought. And USC, you know half their players are going to end up in the NFL, if not more. They deserve to be in the top 20.
And Pete Carroll, consistent coaching job out there. All right, let's start talking about BCS Bowls, and we'll start with the Rose Bowl presented by Citi. Who do you have in that matchup coming up?
Okay, for me, from the Big Ten, I have Iowa. Iowa has had something like 5 come-from-behind wins. They're undefeated. They're playing really well in the Big Ten. I think the big test for them is going to come on November 14th against Ohio State at the Horseshoe. However, I think they'll come through with a win and win the Big Ten and go to the Rose Bowl and play against Oregon. Oregon, the beginning of this year, lost to Boise State. Everyone counted them out. However, they went in this week, beat USC with something like 613 combined total yards. Ridiculous, under quarterback Mike Masoli. And I see that Oregon running away with the Pac-10 and going in and beating Iowa in the Rose Bowl.
Great turnaround for Coach Kelly in his first season at Oregon. How about you? How do you see the Pac-10 and the Big Ten shaping out at the end of the year?
I see the Pac-10 exactly the same way. Oregon's one of those teams. LaMichael James, a freshman, is 16th in total yards this season. Starting only 6 games, he's 6th in yards per carry. He is a lightning bolt, and he's a perfect complement with LeGarrette Blount coming back. He's going to be a goal line back. It's just going to work out. They're even more versatile than they were before. Now in the Big Ten, I like Iowa. Iowa, one of the best coached teams in the country with Kirk Ferentz. He's going to go in there. He doesn't give up a lot of penalties. They don't hurt themselves. They win close games, and they've done it all year. I like them beating Ohio State.
So both of you think the Hawkeyes go into the Horseshoe and beat the Sweater Vest?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. All right, now we'll go to the All-State Sugar Bowl, next BCS Bowl online. Who do you got in that game?
All right, for me, first, from the SEC, I have Alabama. Now, many people are saying Alabama, national title contender, and while that's true, I just don't see them being able to go and play in that SEC championship game against Florida. And so, therefore, I think they'll be in the Sugar Bowl. They got a great team, and they'll be playing, I think, against Boise State. Boise State, came in, beat Oregon at the beginning of this year, and while, yes, they're the last of the unbeatens, I think they're really strong to go in. Plus, we all remember that BCS game in the Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma back in 2007, one of the best BCS games of all time. I think it's going to be a really good game, and however, I do see Alabama coming out with a win.
So I'm still feeling love for Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide. How about you, SEC championship game, Florida-Alabama? How does that shake out?
Alabama is going to win. Alabama's got something special this year, and sophomore running back Mark Ingram. Florida's not the same. Their scoring's down, their efficiency's down. Tim Tebow's been a little bit shaken up. I don't like exactly the way they've been playing. It's not like the national championship team last year. So I see Florida in the All-State Sugar Bowl against Boise State. Boise State, a good team. They're not going to lose any more games. They don't play anyone big. So I think that this game comes down to Florida's offense versus Boise State's consistency as they've had in the Bowls. I like Florida, though, winning the game. They're a national championship kind of team, but they're not going to be there this year.
Okay, Boise State back in the BCS, and let's go back to where they were the Cinderella story. Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, they beat Oklahoma. Who do you got in this year's Fiesta Bowl, though? It could be a lot of at-large visits with, like you said, the Big 12 being a little weaker this season.
Right. And in the Fiesta Bowl, first, I have another non-BCS at-large bid with TCU. TCU, also undefeated, ranked number 6 in the nation, and went into BYU and racked up 36 points against them. And BYU, at the beginning of this year, was supposed to be the BCS at-large contender. I think they're going to go in against Pittsburgh. I think Pitt will win the Big East against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a great team. However, I think it's going to come down to the last week of the season with Pitt and Cincinnati at Pitt, and I think Pitt will run away with it. However, I think that TCU will come come in with a win.
Coming out of left field
in
with
that
the
game.
Pitt thing. I like that. So how about you? What do you got in the Fiesta Bowl?
Wrong team from Pennsylvania. Penn State's going to be in there.
Okay.
They're not going to lose this season. They're going to have Ohio State at home. They're going to win that game. And then on the other side, I agree. TCU, one of the best defensive teams in the country, number 1 in total defense, comes in, and then you go against Penn State, number 1 in total scoring defense. This is not going to be a pretty game, but I like TCU with the consistency they showed all year. They've won their last 3 games, 123-13. I mean, the numbers just go TCU.
TCU, really good season, undefeated thus far. They could be one of those teams where they feel like they got jibbed if they don't get into the national championship. All right, we're getting closer, but first the FedEx Orange Bowl. ACC and an at-large bid. Who do you guys see going to that game?
I see Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has one of the strongest rushing programs in the country with players like Jonathan Dwyer and Josh Nevitt. And, I mean, they're a very strong rushing team. I think there's no way any team in the ACC is going to beat them. The only test they're going to have the rest of the season is at home against Georgia, which I also think they'll win. I see them going to the Orange Bowl against Penn State. And the team Penn State, yeah, they're not going to win the Big Ten. However, that team under Joe Pa, I think they'll also go in and beat Ohio State. However, Georgia Tech, just too strong of a rushing team. I think they're going to win the Orange Bowl.
Okay, Georgia Tech rushing attack in the Orange Bowl, yes?
Yeah, Georgia Tech, their biggest threat right now coming into the ACC championship is Duke, the only other team in the Coastal Conference with 1 loss in the conference. But other than that, Georgia Tech's got nothing to worry about. They're the number 1 rush team in the country. So they're going to fly through. They have no more ranked opponents. Now, I think Pitt is going to come out of the Big East. We're going to have another Big East ACC matchup like last year. Pitt beating Cincinnati in basically what, for all intents and purposes, is the Big East championship game. Pitt, a very strong team, a very athletic offensive line. I like them shutting down Georgia Tech's rushing game and winning the Orange Bowl.
All right, granddaddy of them all, back out to Pasadena, national championship. Who you got?
All right. Well, Alex said that Alabama was going to win the SEC championship, and I'm going to have to disagree and say that Florida, the boys down from Gainesville, are going to win that game, the SEC championship game. Tebow, just great quarterback. They're a really strong team. I don't think they're going to lose any other games in the SEC this year. I think they're going to go to the BCS title game against Texas. And both teams are, they know how they've both been there. Mac Brown, Urban Meyer, both have won championships. However, I think Texas is going to come out on top. They've got a strong duo with Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley. And I just don't think, while Florida is strong, I don't think they're strong enough to go against Texas.
All right, and through my deduction, you have Texas, Alabama.
That's right. Nick Saban, who I think is the best coach in college football, is going to lead the Crimson Tide into the national championship. Alabama, with Heisman favorite right now, Mark Ingram, is going to lead them to this game. Texas, the number one rush defense, is going to be a great matchup. I like Alabama being well coached, beating Texas, playing the good competition in the SEC, taking the national championship.
Well, we got Hook 'em Horns, Crimson Pride. Thanks, guys. That's all the time we have, but don't forget to check out our other webcasts, including where Andy Harris and Adam Lawson go head-to-head on NFL quarterbacks. Thanks for watching, and once again, whose side are you on?